Hello, so in this video we are going to be talking about these file modes right here, the read mode, the write mode, the R plus and W plus mode, all of those. So first of all I want to take you back to what happened in the previous video when I had the write mode, when I did something like an fput C and then an H here and then fptr. I've again restored my contents to hello there, and what happened when I did this was that it just overwrites all of these contents and just brings a small H here. So let's just try it once again. So there, as you see, I've got just a small H here. So this is something that I may not want, so let's go back to our hello there. And what I can do is I can say an R plus here and this won't happen, and that's because when I say W, I'm saying that I just need to write stuff to this file, but when I say R plus or W plus, I'm saying that I want this file for both reading and writing. So when I say both reading and writing, this just replaces the content at this very location and leaves the rest of the file as it is. So let's go ahead and try this, and let's go into here. So as you can see, there was a capital H here and that is turned to a small h. So that's how this R plus works. But what's the difference between an R plus and a W plus? Let's try a W plus. Let's change this back to a capital H actually, and let's run this. Now this time, as you can see, I've got only a capital H here. So that's one of the differences between R plus and W plus. R plus says that when you're trying to write stuff to the file, I won't overwrite all the contents. I'll just change something at that location where you're writing. And W plus says that if the file already exists, I'm just going to overwrite all of the contents. So let's at this point also take a look at something like this. Let's just turn this to R again, and this time I'm just going to give it some random name, let's say CP, and let's try seeing what happens now. So I just try to do something like let's say I just do an fscanf here and I do it from fptr and I say read a %s or a %d, let's say, and an ampersand n, and I'll need n here. So let's just try running this. I do this and it compiles alright even though this file doesn't exist, and that's because this is not something that it checks at compile time. When it's compiling, it just checks whether it's all correct C syntax, which it is. So when I actually run this, it's going to give me an error because what I'm trying to do is I'm opening the file cp.txt, which doesn't really exist, and I'm only opening it for the read mode. So let's go ahead and run it. This time, as you can see, it again didn't give me an error, but let's try printing this n right here, and it's just going to give me some random garbage because this part didn't really do anything. This fscanf right here didn't do anything, so it's actually giving me no output at all. So there's an error in this code, and that's a runtime error. So when it actually runs the thing, it realizes that this cp is not actually it doesn't really exist. So ideally what I should be doing is something like this. I should check if fptr equals null, and null is built into C, so don't worry about that. And if it is null, I should do something like printf and then write file doesn't exist, and let's just enclose this within an else. So only only if the file exists does it try to read from the file. And let's just give some default value to n for this printf to work. So let's go back here and let's try out this program. So as you can see, it says file doesn't exist, and then it gives me a 0 right here. So that's how I can check if I've successfully opened a file or not for reading. But when I change this to a W, of course this part would be wrong then, but when I'm doing it for writing, I can actually just do an fprintf without this check at all, and that's because it says that when you're writing, it might be possible that the file doesn't exist, and if it doesn't, then I'll just create one for you. So let's just try doing an fprintf here, and let's try running this program. So as you can see right here, it created a file cp.txt for me, and it just contains 0, which is the default value of n that I gave here. So that's how W works. And here comes the difference between R plus and W plus. The way R plus works, if the file doesn't exist, it would just give me a null in the fptr and it won't create the file. But with W plus, it actually creates the file if the file doesn't exist. So that's the difference between R plus and W plus. And of course I can also use an append mode here. So let's try the append mode, and then let's just make this let's say something like 5. And note that this cp.txt already contains a 0, and normally with the write mode it would have just replaced this 0 with a 5. But let's see what append mode does. So let's run this, and let's go into cp.txt. So as you can see, the 0 was already there, and after the 0 it added a 5 right here. So that's how the append mode is working. And that's it about our file modes. In the next video we'll be looking at how we can move the cursor within our file. Let's say I wanted to not add something at the end. Let's say I want to add something, one character from the end. So let's say I want to add a character right here. So how do I do that? We'll take a look at that in the next video. So I'll see you there.